What's going on YouTube? Alien Scientist here. And we got an interesting show tonight. I got a couple things that I wanted to talk about. And, oh, look, I got a notification from my video. That's awesome. The first time that's actually happened. I'll start it off. I want to talk a little bit about just what the heck is going on out at Area 51 and in Nevada in general. And this land grab. Pretty soon you're not even going to be able to go to Tickaboo Peak and view the base at all. All that land area, hundreds and hundreds of acres are getting bought up by the government for top secret research. An area the size of Connecticut roughly. Now it's up to you to decide what they need all that land area for. Testing giant flying platforms and other exotic spacecraft. Maybe. But anyways, I'll let you guys, we'll start off with this while I get a couple things set up and ready. And I got a couple guests who are going to hopefully be joining us today. This is very interesting. This is off of Friends
The
of
Great
Nevada
Basin Desert, centered on the state of Nevada. This is a unique landscape like no other in America. In the heart of the Great Basin, the U.S. Navy trains air squadrons and ground forces at the sprawling 240,000-acre Fallon Range Training Complex in Nevada. The Navy operates on public lands set aside by Congress for military use for a limited time, which ends in 2021. Recently, the Navy has proposed to extend its operations in Nevada for 25 more years. But alarmingly, the Navy is also proposing to expand its training complex by 4 times its current size. Even though they say that training levels and objectives won't change. The expansion would be as large as Yosemite National Park, one of the nation's largest parks. Opposition to the expansion is huge and growing. Local native tribespeople, sportsmen, environmental groups, business groups, ranchers, miners, government agencies. The Nevada State Legislature passed a resolution opposing the Navy's massive land grab. But these voices have basically been ignored, and the Navy's plan sails on. Fortunately, there's still time to stop it. For if it happens, an irreplaceable piece of the American West will be lost to the public. The Navy's plan in Nevada calls for greatly expanding their Dixie Valley training area, located about 40 miles east of Fallon. Dixie Valley is flanked by 3 beautiful wilderness study areas managed by the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM. The Navy wants to expand this training area to take in big chunks of these wilderness lands and other lands that are scenic and rich in wildlife in this area. They will install electronic wargame equipment on high peaks in the Stillwater Mountains and increase low flyovers, helicopter missions, and ground maneuvers, seriously degrading the pristine wilderness character of this rugged range. These impacts will disproportionately affect native people from the Paiute and Shoshone tribes who have lived in the area for thousands of years. The tribes have tried to protect the Stillwater Mountains for decades and consider parts of it as sacred, like Fox Peak and Table Mountain. Yet again, the Navy has ignored the native people's concerns by proposing to turn much of the Stillwaters into a military zone. But before the Navy can take ownership of the Wilderness Study Area lands, the U.S. Congress must vote to release them from official wilderness consideration. Such a release would be unprecedented. It would forever prevent these lands from being designated as wilderness in the future and open them to destruction. The Navy's plan in Nevada also calls for expanding a bombing range called B-17 several times its current size. This would require locking up a vast swath of public land, now managed by the BLM. Prime wildlife habitat in the pristine Monte Cristo Mountains would be lost. This is remote, lovely BLM land, great for exploring its unusual geology. On the flanks of the Monte Cristos, the undisturbed Gabbs Valley would be turned into a new target zone for training with live ordnance, bringing low-flying jets, explosions, and sonic booms to residents in the nearby town of Gabbs. The expansion would also terminate many large grazing allotments, historically held by ranching families for decades, delivering a blow to the region's economy and culture. Meanwhile, there's no reason to believe that the gigantic valley where B-17 resides, which is now only partly used for training, needs to be expanded at all if basic training objectives stay the same in the future as the Navy says. Swinging around the southern end of B-17, the expansion would close off colorful sedimentary rock formations to the public. There are also towering granite rock formations here, a beautiful place for rock climbing and watching raptors. The other bombing range in the Fallon Range Training Complex is called B-20. It is situated in the same valley as the Stillwater National Wildlife Refuge and several other wildlife conservation areas. Here, shallow wetlands provide ideal habitat for over 250.
All right, I'm not going to let you guys, I'll let you guys watch the rest of that if you want. I'm not going to play the whole video. I just wanted to do 5 minutes of it while I got a couple things started here in the background. But as you can see, the Navy's buying up tons of land, and there's tons of people in the legislature and in that area that are really trying to go against it and fighting them, but they seem to be ignoring it and just pushing this and moving through with this whole thing. Very interesting what's going on out there, and the massive expansion that's taking place out there, and the tests that are being done. As I mentioned. But anyways, I want to get into this whole flying triangle stuff because I've been trying to talk a little bit about that. I as you people might know, some of the people who know me for a while know actually I did a couple videos talking about this TR-3B and the flying triangle and the Mercury propulsion and doing some physics analysis of just maybe is there anything to this sort of anti-gravity engine. And that got some attention of people who actually knew Edgar Fouché and put me in touch with him. And I was able to meet this guy, the originator of this TR-3B story, and a lot of these drawings that have sort of taken the lore to, you know, that's pretty much where all these stories of these black flying triangles and as a U.S. Air Force craft came from. A lot of it came from Ed Fouché back in the day, and now it's interesting because Ed Fouché died in 2014, and right after his death, this other let me find it. Where's the other patents, not this patent. So now, why can't I find this? I had it all set up. So now if you search for TR-3B patent, I don't know where it is anymore. I thought I had it right here in the very beginning. Jesus. All right, so now basically if you search for TR-3B patent, all you get is this John St. Clair patent, and this is what's shared around everywhere. It's the most popular thing now in the search results for TR-3B, and it's all basically says that it's all Biefeld-Brown effect, and it's like a big flying balloon that's pushed around by Biefeld-Brown effect. That's what it, and this is what all the talk now about these flying triangles has like come down to, and it's not what Ed Fouché talked about. He talked about this Mercury plasma centrifuge engine, and not this craft that you see, and now that you search for this stuff, TR-3B. Let's see if you search for TR-3B Propulsion, and you also get a lot of this stuff on Biefeld-Brown effect. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to talk a little bit about the research that I did into this. So I looked for any kind of thing in physics, in the literature in physics, that was somewhat related to any sort of rotating plasmas or rotating exotic states of matter that might be able to produce anti-gravity. And I found a lot of this Podkletnov. That's how I found the Podkletnov research. They did a lot of research into this, found a lot of stuff about Tingley, a physicist named Tingley, Chinese-American scientist that worked at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, was working with Douglas Torr and published a bunch of papers between 91 and 93 on practical ways of producing anti-gravity effects, using these superconducting disks. This was all back in the 90s, $500,000 in grants from the DoD and other, and then it sort of just disappeared, and we haven't heard nothing about it since. Boeing did a study. This was big and popular back in 2002. Boeing did a study into a project called Project GRASP, where they did a lot of research into this rotating superconductor disk phenomenon with Podkletnov and the claims of Eugene Podkletnov. There's people who say that this, these tests had positive results, and that it's remained classified. And I wanted to actually, I have an email. I wanted to find this email, and Podkletnov. This came around through actually Tim Ventura of American AntiGravity. Sorry, American AntiGravity put this out. He's been sharing this, and I just wanted to read it with people about. This is the latest update from Eugene Podkletnov, and this was from October 2018. Dear Dr. Evans, it was a great pleasure for me to receive your letter and learn that you still have a clear picture of the technology that will change our world. The film by BBC was good, and taking into consideration that the subject is difficult for common people, I would say the documentary was a real success. The main thing is that they managed to create an atmosphere of a dream together with the conspiracy and serious scientific approaches. The only thing I did not like was the monologue of Dr. Martin Tajmar, who could not reproduce my results and therefore decided to deny obvious facts, which is not good. After this, neither me nor Dr. Modenice will ever shake hands with Dr. Tajmar, but I can understand him because he was offered a position of a professor at Dresden University, and he had to give up all the nonsense about gravity in order to get that position, and it was a condition of the rector. But you and me, Rob Chambers, and other serious scientists continue in the right direction and will boldly go where no one has gone before. I guess you have read my article on the speed of gravity and the interaction of the gravity impulse with the light. You can find it in the attachment. That was interesting because it's kind of related to the stuff that Frank Sinardzik was talking about with the gravity impulse and how it's connected with light and sound and the speed of light inside materials. Anyways, all these years I was going on with my research, and at the present we have two types of technology that are ready for industrial development. The first one is a replication of the German flying discs which they made during World War II, and the second is based on rotating magnetic fields and specially winded solenoids. We managed to improve the results of the German engineers applying special nano coatings, and the videos are enclosed in the attachment. You can clearly observe the effect of the repulsive force field created by fast rotating disk with nano coating, this so-called torsion field, which has the same structure as the gravity field and was predicted by Einstein. I haven't heard this before, and I'd like to see the math for this and the prediction and everything. And I don't have these videos. It says he's attached these videos, but I don't know if here there's some videos. I'm gonna play for those for us. I got them here. Anyways, the force field can be created in any direction in space and acts on all objects no matter what they're made of. Please watch the videos and show them to Rob Chambers. He might be interested. This topic should get a further development because we have a technology that doesn't require any research and is ready for industrial application. So I'm going to watch one of these videos and play it for you guys. I'm going to download both of these and the PDF, and I'm going to play those for us right now while we get this PodClipNav stuff going on the screen. Sorry, I don't have anything up for the visual display, but it's interesting because when you search for DGlock now on Wikipedia, it comes back as it has hoax next to it, and it says that it's all a hoax. And this is the whole theory that the Germans were working on developing Wunderwaffe or advanced anti-gravity and free energy technology based on like a lot of this occultism with this Thule Society and more specifically the Vril Society, which was a sort of inner circle of Thule Society, and members which were closely connected with high-ranking Nazis like Werner von Braun that came over in Operation Paperclip to start the American space program under NASA. So it's real interesting stuff. A lot of it traces back to these scientists that worked for the Germans. They came over, that were connected to all this stuff, and Operation Paperclip. Very interesting circle of characters here. Let's get this vertical disc going.
Откачка воздуха в камере завершена. Остаточное давление
Here's the Russians
примерно
and their
0,05
experiments and what they're
В камере
doing.
установлено устройство, включающее динамический сбалансированный диск, вращаемый электромотором. Ось мотора диска в данном случае горизонтально, а экран подвешен на коромысле вертикально. Подаем напряжение питания. Как мы видим, между диском и экраном есть зазор. Пока оборота мало, экран неподвижен, а вот сейчас началось его отталкивание. С ростом числа оборотов увеличиваем напряжение питания. И до отталкивания еще более растет. Уменьшаем напряжение. Диск продолжает вращение, однако его обороты малы и отталкивание экрана не происходит. Еще раз увеличиваем обороты.
I don't know what they're saying because I don't speak Russian, but apparently this object is effective.
Опять начинается отталкивание экрана. Угол отталкивания в данном случае порядка 30-45 градусов. Подключаем напряжение питания. Обороты падают. Конец съемки.
All right, I'll play the vertical disc, the horizontal disc, sorry, next, and then I'll continue. I'm going to put the sound off so I can continue reading.
Откачка воздуха в камере завершена. Остаточное давление порядка 0,05.
So the force field can be created in any direction, and blah, 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 blah. This topic should get a further development because we have a technology that doesn't require any research. Sorry, we already said this. By the end of the stage, we'll be able to demonstrate model installations at a strength of the levitated force field so that the experts of any aviation firm could come observe and investigate all the particularities of the engine. In fact, our disc-shaped flying vehicle will have an ability of vertical liftoff and landing, and the speed and acceleration values exceeding those typical for modern jet fighters. As our device will have a lifting force of about 500 to 1,000 kilograms per square meter and will be able to fly to a height of about 200 to 250 kilometers over the surface of the Earth. Because of the special features of the design, the lifting force will have a maximum values at the height from 20 to 150 kilometers, which is beyond the values of normal turbojet engines. We think it's reasonable after the first stage to project to sell this new technology and exclusive know-how to any aviation firm which might be interested in order to obtain money for the second stage of the project. The second stage will require much more time and money, but will provide the lifting force of at least 1,000 to 5,000 kilograms per square meter, and the speed and acceleration at least an order of magnitude more than those typical for modern jet fighters. The application of the new technology for transportation, space exploration, and energy production will have serious implication on the existing technological development, and all initial tests for both stages have been conducted at the laboratory scale. Therefore, we're absolutely sure in the results, though the engineering work will require considerable effort from the engineering team. It seems you have some acquaintances. All right, so the rest is just personal stuff. But anyways, that I thought that was interesting that he talks about this society, German secret societies. A lot of this being old technology from the 40s and 50s, which I'm still considering as a possibility. Although it's just, if they figured it out back then, man, why can't anybody figure it out now and show it now, like, and build these things? Like, really curious about that, about all this, and what we can get done. Let me see. Let me tune back into the live stream chat, and yeah, the ancient Hindu texts. I did read some of that stuff. I've been reading some of that stuff, the Vimanika Shastra, and also the Bhagavad Gita. Interesting stuff about theories that, like, they talked about a technology societies that have this technology thousands of years ago even, which is really interesting. It's interesting stuff, but man, I'm really, as a physicist, I want to know how these things work and how we can build it, like how we can replicate the technology, and if it's nano coatings and all this stuff's improving it, and like it's all this nanotechnology stuff like I've been leaning towards, then I don't see how they really built this stuff back in those ancient times. But anyways, let's get back to this TR3B patent. Really think this John St. Clair patent's disinformation. It's all you can find now with search engines, and you really can't find as much stuff on Podkletnov, Project Grasp, and the rotating Mercury stuff. I thought that it's really interesting that this stuff's really taken over. That and the element 115 stuff. I mean, anyone you ask about anti-gravity, the first thing they say is element 115. Everyone talks about that element 115 stuff. So they've really successfully saturated the mindscape with disinformation, and who knows, that this might be more disinformation that they spread as well. So I want to talk about some of the research that I've done into the TR3B and some of these other patents. So one hypothesis is that the TR and TR3B doesn't stand for triangle, but it stands for Teledyne Ryan, or the manufacturer, the aeronautics company that manufactured this. In fact, they manufactured a couple of these flying triangles, but I thought that it was some of these high altitude penetrators and some of these other manta rays and other craft that they created. There were some triangular craft, but nothing quite like exactly the TR3B with this Mercury anti-gravity engine, and that's a giant space platform, 200 or 600 feet on a side. Nothing like that, a football field size giant platform, or like what we saw at the Phoenix Lights. But anyways, that's an interesting hypothesis. I want to also talk about this patent number. So this is a Teledyne Ryan craft, one of the patents that I had put out. Here's the patent number if people want to look it up. But might be a cover craft for the TR3B, or it might be related. But this was some of the research I found looking for patents, related to triangular craft and stuff. And I never find anything directly connected to a nuclear-powered flying triangle. Of course, this is in violation of treaties to have nuclear-powered aircraft or any kind of nuclear aircraft. So it's a good reason why this might be kept secret and still be, never be declassified if it does exist. Is because it's a nuclear-powered nuclear powered triangle, and that violates these treaties and stuff. Right, the Aurora was like the older project back in like the 70s, and then it was replaced with the Black Manta. Apparently, is the story that I've heard. But wanted to put I have a bunch of pictures and stuff of it. I posted them on Twitter and whatnot. But anyways, I'm waiting for some people to call me on Skype. If you want to get on Skype and give me a call and jump in, join the discussion a little bit and talk about some of the stuff you can. But I haven't found a lot of experiments of people doing much with mercury. Mercury is really, of course, dangerous and toxic to work with, and it reacts with aluminum, so you can't use aluminum to store it or put it in an aluminum container because it will form a weird amalgam. But there are some interesting experiments with mercury out there, but no one's ever done like an experiment where they make it turn into plasma or get it to glow purple, and you know, there's some experiments with rotating mercury using just electricity, and it works surprisingly well. But I would like to see more experiments with mercury, and it might be something worth funding in the future. I'm in the process of trying to update my website. This is really old style, and I have a new kind of a new outline. I'm going to debut it now, even though it's not quite ready. I'm trying to redo the website as a new website, and I need like a whole week off. I need to take like a week off of work and just work on. If I took all the material that I've gathered, especially the stuff over the last 3 years, if I took all the material and put it in one spot and made it searchable, I have so much information and so much data and stuff. I want to put together a big, I want to put together more, but I have no time to do it because I work so much, and I would need, like, I'm asking people if they want to go and I'm asking someone if they want, you know, to help out with this. I really need the help of a donor or someone who wants to sponsor me. You can go and check this out, and if I could get $1,000, I'd take a week off from work, and I'll just build this website out, transfer all the stuff over to this new setup, and move all the articles over and all the other stuff over. Plus, I got a guy that's coming out, and I want to create a database, the searchable database, and a forum, and get a kind of a forum back on here for us to like discuss stuff and talk about stuff, and I want a place where people can come on and share randomly and share ideas and drop stuff and information. So I got a lot of plans for this, but I just don't have any time or funds or anything to execute it. So if anyone out there is watching and knows someone with who really believes in this and what I'm doing, and you know, I've done all this work for free. I don't ask for money, and I hate asking people for money, but we can get some money together to put, you know, I can take a week off of work. I'm going to put together a sick-ass website with all this information and even more stuff, including a news section where I can just drop, every time I drop new information, I can put an article on there and drop articles to my site directly. That way people can keep updated right with the website. But anyways, that's just something in the project and in the works. I got to get down to New Jersey again here in the next sometime in this month, February or March at the latest, and get some more experiments done in the lab. We got a new video too coming out soon from more of our experiments with building super dielectrics and supercapacitors and stuff like that. So got some interesting stuff coming up. I'll talk to Mark and stuff, and yeah, I'll talk about This was an interesting thing that came out recently. Metamaterials that work for sound, so they use the same the same concepts of how they produce these visual metamaterials, and they've created actually an auditory metamaterial. And this is super interesting because you could basically create a place where all the sound is echoed back to you, where none of the sound can escape from. A soundproof room. That would be the best soundproof room. It would be better than any like soundproof rooms that currently exist, as far as noise cancellation. So I was saying that it could be perfect for a skiff, using this technology in those rooms where you get debriefed in, called a skiff, or the cone of silence. Basically you can use this metamaterial technology to block all the sound and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. Let's see if I can't get anybody else. Oh yeah, so airships of the 1850s called the Nimza. I haven't heard of that one yet. Nimza. Yeah, the Charles Delachaux, though. I've heard of that. The Delachaux. This Delachaux club, and this is basically this aeronautics club. I talked about this a little bit on last podcast, but this was brought to my attention by Walter Bosley, actually. I thought it was super interesting. Another, this secret group of this, these people, these insiders. Again, it could just be like I said, there's a lot of these groups of just LARPs, man, too. Like people that have these groups, and that's a secret group, but they all just make believe and pretend and write a bunch of stuff that's not true. So there's also that. But again, what it boils down to with me is really I'm trying to get a history of the technology and real physics, and try to look at real physics and real ways to replicate it with experiments and build it. And we're also trying to get the lab going down at Falcon Space, basically to do these experiments and figure it out. So if it does work and it's that easy, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to reverse engineer it. I guarantee it. Like, we'll be able to. So I can't find anything Falcon Space program. If I go to that, let's build a warp drive. So we want to build a warp drive, and we want to build anti-gravity technology, and we want to figure out anything we can. Yeah. I'm trying to read some other things here. So in any case, interesting stuff on graphene. I talked a little bit about the Roswell memory foil and how I was super interested in the material science side of the witnesses' testimony from Roswell. I said that was the most important evidence in the whole case, for the fact that there was a cover-up and a material switch with Project Mogul as the cover story. Interesting stuff we're learning about graphene and why it might have been an actual material from a spacecraft back in that could have crashed back in the 40s, either whether it was an experimental one that was built by us and one of ours, or whether it came from them, So really interesting is the fact that graphene is so easy to produce, where it's produced with a lump of graphite and a piece of tape that was used to create the first bit of graphene. But I wanted to get maybe and it would be cool to get Andreas on, because he's working with some people that are trying to produce large-scale graphene production, and some of these companies out there that are doing a lot of work with graphene and graphene production. Really amazing material, and would like to see more development in these types of two-dimensional materials and what they can do. Awesome to see something like that memory foil that those witnesses described. That's doesn't cut with a pocket knife, and you can wrinkle it up in a ball and then let it go, and it just unfolds itself mirror smooth again. Like, that's definitely not Mylar. But anyways, interesting stuff. I'm hoping to get some more. Oh, here's a picture of what mercury does with aluminum. You put a drop of mercury on an aluminum plate. This is what happens. So I originally thought that it might be a good idea. Oh, we could use mercury. We could use an aluminum thing to do this mercury experiment. But no, you got to use something else besides aluminum, a glass tube or something. I don't know. We got to figure out the best material science of how to do some more of these experiments with mercury plasma. What we might be looking for. As far as I've found, the closest theory I can find about how it would work is this torsion stuff, which Podkletnov also talks about, these torsion fields. But torsion in mechanics and what we look up is not the same. It's not this whole idea with gravity, torsion and gravity. Let's see, torsion and gravity. Gravitational torsion field. Yeah, this is what we want. Gravitational torsion field and gravitational theories with torsion and this Einstein-Cartan theory. That's what we wanted. That's where he's talking about Einstein predicting this whole torsion field stuff, is this Einstein-Cartan theory. Yep, I remember this now. It's been dusting off the frickin' books here, man. In fact, I should be working on some physics problems right now, but instead I'm on here doing a podcast and rambling on like a crazy idiot that I am. But anyways, let's get frickin' people on Skype. What happened to the tech? We are the technicians. Where'd Jeremiah go? He was on here earlier in the podcast. I saw him commenting, and I was hoping he'd call me on Skype. Or somebody will call me on Skype. Get on Skype and get on the show. Let me see what people are doing here. He was on. I'm not using Discord. No, I don't use Discord, man. I don't like it. It like took over my computer, and there was just too many crazies on there that I got rid of Discord. And the fact that I couldn't like ever get it off my computer or even close the program, it just stays running in the background. I was just like, what the heck is that? So, of all the metals in the periodic table right now that are, someone in the last podcast was going off about this, and I did a little bit of research into it. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The hafnium controversy. Very interesting piece of reading material for anyone that wants to know about something going on right now related to classified metals research and metals technology. This hafnium bomb and this whole DARPA experiment with this trip experiment, very interesting. They're basically, if you want to talk about very interesting material, but basically what they did is they can use it to create this X-ray weapon, which can basically cause EMP. It's an EMP weapon. You can basically, but it's directional, so you can wipe out electronics. You can just have a gun that will just wipe out all their electronics and really interesting stuff, but I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to. It's sort of scary, and maybe I'll get someone who's an expert to come on here and break it all down for us and stuff. But I don't want to get things wrong, and I don't want to touch on anything too crazy with as far as weapons research and stuff like that, because it doesn't serve me any purpose. I'm here to create anti-gravity and free energy, and I want to focus on technologies that are creating anti-gravity and free energy. And though this is cool, it's a weapon, it's classified stuff, it doesn't bring us any closer to free energy or anti-gravity technology, so I don't really want to get too much into that and talk too much about it. But it was mentioned in the last podcast by somebody, and I want to say thank you for talking about that and bringing that to my attention, because it was some interesting stuff to read and learn about, and the whole weaponization of it, and what they figured out with this isotope of hafnium and what it can do. It's basically like vibranium from friggin' Black Panther, you know. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's vibranium. It's like real life vibranium, not comic book shit. Just like the adamantium is really that carbonado, dude. Carbonado diamonds. A lot of people think that these carbonado diamonds aren't natural. They're only found in very few places on Earth. They're very extremely rare, and they're harder than regular diamonds. And there's theories that they're actually remnants of, you know, ancient alien spacecraft or alien civilizations or alien technology that's fell to Earth in meteoric form. But that's one interesting place to look for aliens, is in carbonado diamonds. The other interesting place to look for aliens is in gene drives. Basically like downloading information into our DNA. There's so much data you can store in DNA that's just latent DNA is junk DNA that doesn't do anything, just sits there. So they could just basically create a gene drive and insert it into your genetic drive, or into an organism that's, you know, something old that's like a tree, you know, conifers, or something that's been here and will be here for years and years and years and years. It'd be a good place to store a gene drive for an alien race to store a gene drive, if it exists. It might be out there. We might discover one. But anyways, yeah. A knife made out of carbonados? That would be insane, dude. I know that they found King Tut's knife was made out of a meteorite, but I never heard about a carbonado knife, you know. Someone named their knife a carbonado knife, but it's not made out of carbonado diamond. That would be insane. It would be like even harder and stronger than Damascus steel. Anyways, yeah, we can dream of Wolverine claws made of real life adamantium and stuff like that. But let's get back to this free energy and anti-gravity stuff. Yeah, I do. I scratch my head sometimes at the chat, man. It's just like, jeez. It's all right. People scratch their head when I talk in their chat, and when I go on other people's podcasts, and I'm the weirdo typing in the chat, like, what's this alien scientist guy, and he's talking about this? I'm like, what the heck is going on, man? But anyways, what else did I want to cover? I got a couple of things. So this guy Brett Tingley, he's been one of my favorite authors of the past year, the favorite reporters. He's written a lot of these articles on thedrive.com, including this most recent one talking about Salvatore Pais and the mysterious inventor of all these Navy patents and stuff. And he's been answering some of my questions. I got a lot of questions about this stuff, but I contacted him. I'm hoping to get this guy to come on and just come on the podcast and answer some of our questions and talk to us, because it'd be really awesome to get him on as a guest to get his take. And I'm also thinking about trying to reach out to Dr. Pais himself, Salvatore Cesar Pais, and see if we can get this guy to come on the show and talk about, what the heck's going on with these patents. But I doubt that will happen. But it'd be more likely we can get this reporter to come on and talk to us than that guy. But we'll see. I'm putting the feelers out right now on a lot of these things, because people are curious. I'm curious. And we want to learn more. And if there's really something to be done here and technology to be had, then we want to be part of it, and be part of the revolution, man. One of the guys who's really making waves, and I do want to get on the show, I've been talking to, and he seems interested in getting on the show, is this McCulloch fellow, and his talks about quantized inertia and physics from the edge. But he's been going off about his calculations, how they get rid of dark matter and dark energy, which I've never been a fan of, and how it's hiding new technology and new insights of the connections between general relativity and quantum mechanics. So this TED talk from Plymouth University, awesome. Definitely spread around to the right people and share this and look at and talk about this. This guy's blowing it up on Twitter. Definitely go and follow him on Twitter and read all the stuff that he's posted over the past 3 months, because I have been following it and I'm very intrigued. Very anxious to get him on as a guest to come talk to us and share his research and some of his findings. He's of course involved, as some of you know, with a DARPA contract right now on quantized inertia, and they got DARPA gave him a $1.3 million for a 4-year study, and they have planned experiments to test quantized inertia, funded by DARPA, which is really interesting stuff. It's again right up there with a lot of these other theories and a lot of these other ideas about Casimir effect and inertia. Yeah, just these ideas of inertial mass and inertia and the equivalence principle. Anyways, it's real interesting stuff. Want to get him on to kind of tell us more and talk about it more, but this quantized inertia stuff is definitely on the top of my list for candidates for the possibilities of where the real discovery is going to come from, because everyone's here talking about disclosure. Oh, when's disclosure going to happen? And disclosure is happening right now, but no one's paying attention, and it's like, I don't believe in disclosure, because it's like everything that's spoon-fed to us has usually been disinformation, and I really believe that it's up to us for discovery. We live in this opportune time where it hasn't been discovered. People don't have anti-gravity machines. We don't have flying cars yet, regardless of all the fantasies that people want to believe about secret societies and Frill and these occult mystic forces and Illuminati and people that have this technology. I can't produce it in my lab. Why not? Why can't I build it? Why can't I get it to work? Why can't other people just get it to work? Why aren't we just flying around in flying cars already? And I think a lot of those questions can be answered just by the laboratory. It needs to be discovery. If we can't reproduce it in my lab, then it's not real. It doesn't exist. If it doesn't agree with experiment, then it's false. right? Disagrees with experiment, it's false, and that's all there is to it. And but some of the stuff doesn't disagree with experiment. It just has been covered up, you know, like there's real experiments, the MIT researchers that built that friggin' that flying this thing, the electricity in the air for the Aero Society. I talked about this in a past thing, right? These MIT students built this thing and showed it had more propulsion than a jet engine, more you know, demonstrated higher propulsion coefficient. You know, the work that it produced, 110 newtons of thrust per kilowatt, compared with a jet engine, which produces 2 newtons per kilowatt. It's insane. But of course, it's just not talked about. It's not promoted and gets covered up, or gets tainted because they say, "Oh, it's dangerous," and or it only. And there's other issues that it doesn't really fly well in inclement weather. You know, how would it do in a storm or you know, a rainstorm or a snowstorm? It's not going to perform like a jet would. Doesn't run on the same principles. Some of the principles that are involved in its functions might not work as well in a rainstorm. If you're doing electro, you know, gravitics or electro, you know, what's called electro aerodynamics. It's really ion wind propulsion, basically. But we're still continuing our experiments to look for you know, a side of this Biefeld-Brown effect that is an ion wind that's gravitational in nature. Haven't found any real promising answers or results yet, but the search continues and the group continues to move forward. Can't wait to get down there and myself in a month or so and film some more stuff for you guys. Vimanas, these whole ideas, it sounds like a lot of, you know, storytelling and fantasies. I'm not seeing the real scientific descriptions of, you know, of how this stuff works and how to reproduce it and how to build it. You know, these things are like, I can tell they came from the 1850s because they're very, the early, you know, these are early, very primitive visions of how these craft function or how they operate, compared to what the stuff that we're learning about the high-end material science and some of the theories around that. The light stuff, I think the optics stuff and the light stuff is the real path forward, is building these types of optical ships and understanding these optical wave effects and how to produce, you know, condensed matter states using squeezed light and squeezed quantum states. I think that's the best technology I've seen. I think that's where a lot of the real research is going, and that's the reason that a lot of this stuff's been put out about these other piezoelectrically induced anti-gravity, plate piezoelectrical superconductivity, you know, which I've been finding a lot of interesting stuff on, and there is some a lot of research going on into that, but with this Navy filing for the patent on the room temperature superconductor and putting a lot of this information out there in the forefront, it's usually a good indication that they found a better way. You know, they found something different or a better way of doing this and producing the same effect. If they put this out there to the public and this is what they're, you know, putting out there and promoting, then they've usually found a better way. And I think the better way is what I've been talking about with the squeezed light and squeezed quantum state generation and these polariton condensates. Because you don't find that people talking about that stuff, and you don't find as much on it. It's not the stuff that's being spoon-fed and put out there in the mainstream, you know, but it exists and it does the same thing in perhaps a more efficient and better way. Yeah, that super battery. Remember the piezoelectric crystal effects and those super crystals, those free energy machines from John Hutchison. Those were interesting too, man. And even Hutchison's talking a lot about a lot of this other stuff now, man. He's switching around. We kind of come to term with the times. Man, how come nobody calls me on Skype? Is everyone's Skype broken? As I hear a lot of people have, the Skype is broken, but nobody's calling me on Skype. And I talked to Jeremiah, and he was on there. Let me just text him again. I want to take a break. But anyways, Hutchison, I don't know, man. He's still like talking about stuff. He went off kind of the deep end with that whole Paris Hilton thing and his cross-dressing antics and stuff for a while there, and that's kind of where I stopped following him and lost touch with it. But I realized a couple recent posts he's made and things he's talked about, and he follows a lot of my work, and he follows a lot of the other updates in the field, and he's right on a lot of this stuff too. So he's, again, I don't know what the deal is with John Hutchison. I really feel like it's easy to say that, you know, he the easiest answer I'd say is that, you know, he's a hoaxer and that he made up all that stuff, and that's why he could never replicate it or give exact, you know, directions on how to do it. And there's another theory that, you know, he really did a lot of that stuff, but then they sabotaged his research and fucked him up in the head and used it as a cover-up. But again, it's like, how come none of these other physicists can really build and replicate this work and build these machines? And I thought that was interesting. Oh, you know what? I got some other stuff that we can talk about. I'm going to talk about this. Oh yeah, well, I got some stuff we can talk about. So this was a very interesting discussion I had the other day. Oh, come on. There we go. I had a very interesting discussion the other day. And we were talking about Skinwalker Ranch, right? And all these weird things that were reported by these people that did these studies out at the adamantium Skinwalker Ranch. And all these videos that have been produced and talked about it, and people saying, and I have a little different take on the Skinwalker Ranch stuff, and I wanted to kind of share a couple interesting things that have come out. This one is the first one that I'm going to share, and collapse, yeah. All right, and it's called the Voice of God Weapon, and this was on Wired.com, 2007. But I've seen and heard stuff about this even further back than, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Very interesting stuff about these holosonics. So you've heard of holographics, where they can create a visual display and visual imagery in the air with sort of holographics technology. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that we could get into, but I don't talk about all right now. But just know that there are, you know, holographic technologies, but there's also holosonics, and are ways to basically implant voices in your head, or put sounds in your head and put sounds in your ear, and, you know, make you feel like you're hearing things and seeing, and not only seeing things but hearing things. So I'm thinking that a lot of this stuff with Skinwalker Ranch, my whole take on it is that it's human technology, and it's, you know, the people that are involved with this and the people that are connected to this with NIDS and Hal Puthoff and all the Army psychological warfare people that are involved with this. I really feel like it's a lot of these tests. It's tests on advanced weaponry and classified, you know, weaponry and weapons technologies. And I just wanted to take a minute to talk about some of these and you know, explain to people that these things exist, that they can put a holographic image of, you know, God in the sky and then put the you know, the sound in your ear so it sounds like God's talking to you in your head. They can beam it right in. And there's been demonstrations of this technology and a lot of talks about it. So holosonics, what? Audio visual equipment supplier in Watertown, Mass. I was like, oh, if there's a holosonics company in Watertown, Mass, I'm going there and talking to these people. I want to experience this in firsthand, man. I want someone to put a voice in my head so I can hear it and see and experience that. I thought that was cool, but also want to talk about ultrasonics and what some of the things that ultrasonics can do, because there's been this was in a recent article published January 7th, 2020, and it talks about ultrasound selectively damaging cancer cells when tuned to correct frequencies. So it talks about damaging certain cells, so they tune it to a specific frequency so that it resonates only cancer cells and causes them to rupture and die. I thought that was super interesting, and then we were talking and having a big conversation about a lot of this stuff, and someone mentioned, I can't find it now. I can't find it now. Let me find the other. Alright, so I know he posted this, so I'm trying to find it. Hold on, give me a second. So he posted this article about this embassy in Cuba and these diplomats that had these strange brain injuries. And again, they've taken it down. I don't see it here. Oh, here it is. Got it. Yes. I was looking at this the other day. I wanted to talk about this for a second. So here's the New York Times article about it, and I'll post this here. So these diplomats in Cuba at the embassy came down with this strange illness, and they were checked out by brain doctors that did the brain scan on all of them and found that they had these weird brain injuries, these repeated these very interesting brain injuries. Basically, that the white matter like you have gray matter and white matter in your brain, and the gray matter is the connective tissue in between, and they noticed that their white matter was like targeted, like it was burned out by some kind of either ultrasonic frequency. They think it's from, so there's a lot of theories going around about this and people talking about, you know, what it could be. And so they talk about these ultrasonic jammers. And these are spy technologies. They're not regulated by the FCC, and a lot of the health effects are classified because of, you know, their nature, because the devices themselves are classified and related to, you know, how they basically put these microsonic these jammers in to basically jam Cuban spies from bugging the embassy. It's basically prevents it wipes out the wiretaps and radio bug frequencies that they communicate on, and it also like jams the microphones with this high, you know, noise that they can't pick up, so they won't be able to pick up what's going on in there. But there's maybe some other health effects of this. So if you tune, you know, I want to talk about this. You tune it to a certain frequency, you wipe out cancer cells. But what if you tune it to the frequency of white matter in your brain cells, you know, white matter brain cells? Then that frequency and that ultrasonic stuff's going to be wiping out your brain and causing brain injuries and very similar brain trauma to what was reported in these these 21 patients who were working in the Cuban embassy, where some of these technologies are probably, you know, being implemented and used. I just wanted to, you know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and bring that to people's attention, that you know, these people were complaining of the headaches and these odd ailments and stuff, and that there are these technologies that exist that do weird things in the brain. They're not like super exact, like they can't just pinpoint, you know, they can't pinpoint like certain memories and wipe those out, or, you know, I'd like to know just what they're capable of, and their limitations and their capabilities, and learn a little bit more about them. And I'd love to see them demonstrated, where they could put a voice in your head, or you know, I think a lot of this stuff is a lot of the stuff that was reported and going on at Skinwalker Ranch seems to me like testing of these types of technologies, where they can put voices in your head, do things to your brain, put visions in your head, holographics, holosonics, and also that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my take on Skinwalker Ranch. I always lean towards the technology side of things, just because that's my strength and that's my skew on things. Everything I feel can be explained with just a better understanding of technology and capabilities and stuff like that. I think it's definitely a side that not a lot of people in the UFO field and this research community fields look at, and it's overlooked far too much in my opinion. So it's good that I come in with this sort of view to balance things out and offer a different perspective and a different opinion on what's up with it. But anyways, Mercury, some interesting stuff. This Nazi Bell stuff seems like a bunch of fantasy, but real. There could be some real physics there with this. You know, just the history of the rotating superconductors and the rotating, you know, there's a bunch of different stuff on rotating magnetic fields, the rotating superfluids and superconductors. Again, more experiments just that need to be done. And the gravity probe B stuff, trying to find an ether, you know, like this gravitomagnetic dragging, geodetic gravity frame dragging effect. Very interesting stuff. The coronavirus, dude. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, dude. Honestly, like, don't be scared. Just don't be scared, dude. Look, even during the plague, lots of people died, but there were a proportion of humans that were like adapted and survived it. You know what I mean? So no matter what, humanity's gonna live on, and we could do with a super virus. To be honest with you, I mean, I don't hate to sound like friggin' Bill Gates here, but you know, population is a freaking problem, and if you don't live in the city and don't live in places like I do, then you don't see that. There's not that the super virus is a way of targeting, you know, the people that should be gotten rid of on this planet, because there's plenty of them that I don't think belong here and aren't helping with the whole process. But in fact, some of the ones that don't belong here the most will be the ones most protected from things like that, which is very unfortunate. But again, I'm not worried about it. I'm not scared of coronavirus, and it's not changing my life, you know. And if people are getting sick around me and dying, and I need to do something about that, then, you know, it will change. But it's not like, it seems like this whole, it seems like an engineered thing almost to me, because it's just like they're making such a big deal about it, and this contamination, containment and stuff. Again, you got to think of who's making money off it too, and where the money is in it, because definitely someone's making a ton of money off promoting fear and selling fear. Always remember that. But I'm not super worried about the coronavirus. You know, even if it killed half of humanity, I think we'd be all right. Anyways, yeah, just eat well and keep your immune system up. It's really killing old people and young people, you know. So I'm not, you know, too worried about it personally, dude. But it just seems like more money, dude. More ways to make money. It's not really seems like I'm not getting scared of it. I'm not wearing a mask to work every day. Anyways, I'm getting fucking tired and nobody's coming through on my Skype. No one wants to call me or come on the show, and maybe they don't like the topic that we're talking about. But anyways, I'm been hunting these flying triangles and trying to search for the best evidence for them for years. Again, the sightings are one thing, and I don't really get into that side of it. I'm really into the how does the propulsion system work and how do we build it, and looking at that side of things. And right now, I can't find much on the magnetic flux field disruptor, and I always look for new stuff that comes out to confirm, you know, Ed Fouché's stories, you know. And it's always interesting when something comes along like these hydrogen crystals, are the most recent thing. Oh, I wanted to make a correction too for my last video. I should have mentioned that. I talked about these atomically thin coatings, and I mentioned cold spray technique, and I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned this is not that cold spray technique is a doesn't produce atomically thin. It's nano thin. It's nano thin. It's not atomically thin, but it's very thin, but it's not like atomically thin. And so there's a difference. You don't. And I mentioned that alien technology we built atom by atom and literally constructed to the utmost precision, just atom by atom. But I no longer think that that's needed or really feasible, like possible. I think even just nanotechnology is good enough with a lot of these. These coatings don't have to be atomically thick. They can be, you know, hundreds of atoms, or, you know, just a few hundred atoms thick will work as well for a lot of these technologies to function on quantum mechanical principles on the quantum level. But anyways, just wanted to make that correction. That magnetic flux field disruptor, can't find anything, you know, realistic of coming out of that or any stuff. But the hydrogen crystals, Ed used to always talk about hydrogen crystals and metallic hydrogen, and he said that there's tons of this research is going on, all this metallic hydrogen stuff, that tons of it's going on out right now out at Area 51, or was, that they were all about, you know, producing these hydrogen crystals for like free energy. That's basically, it's like a way to produce free energy is with these hydrogen crystals apparently. But interesting stuff you can find and read about these metallic hydrogen. They've finally, apparently 80 years since it was theoretically predicted to scientists, they've almost certainly discovered it and figured it out now. Is this what's just coming out to the public? Was this figured out years ago? Has it been developed into working technology already? Again, we don't know. Don't know the whole story, and only time will tell. But definitely another one of those exotic metal things, and really classified metals to keep your eye on: hafnium and metallic hydrogen. Ed would not let that one go. He used to always rant about it and say, you know, anything you find on it. And it's been one of the things I search for, you know, almost, you know, when I go and do my searches and research, I keep looking for new developments on you know, metamaterials, quasi-crystals, any kind of NLOs, nonlinear optical materials, topological insulators. All that stuff is very much connected to a lot of the high-level material science research that's going on, and that's a key to building a lot of these technologies. So one of the things that people need to keep up on, and that I keep up on, and keep the research going on, man. And if we can get this website put together, I can put all this stuff and just keep dumping it in one spot, and then once I get it all built, it'll be relatively easy to keep up with it and dump new share new articles and stuff as stuff like this emerges and comes out, new information. Keep it all located centrally in one spot where people can find it all. Because right now it's so hard to do this research and put all this stuff together. And I'm finding more and more people that are interested in it, putting the pieces together themselves, learning about the pieces, and also engaging with other researchers and research groups, which I think is important. We can get that going on a forum like we had before. We can really push this freaking ball down the field, and hopefully score some anti-gravity or some free energy, man. So anyways, I was showing this my alien vodka. I got outer space vodka. This was given to me as a gift, and I thought it was funny because Tyler Glockner did a video where he was showing this same bottle off and talking about someone sent it to him, and then he got pulled over for that DUI, and everyone saw that video of Tyler getting of Secure Team 10, the most popular UFO channel on YouTube, getting arrested. That was a funny video. Not funny for him, but I thought it was interesting anyway. Yeah, the alien vodka, dude. It's like Crystal Skull. It's like Crystal Head vodka with friggin' Dan Aykroyd, but it's alien head. I haven't even opened this yet and tried it. I'm not really a big vodka fan. I'm more into whiskey myself if I'm gonna drink hard liquor. This is my single malt scotch. This is good stuff. I've been drinking that. Much better than that vodka. But I don't know. I mostly don't really touch the hard stuff. I like my beer. Yeah, Tyler had a video where he got the alien vodka and he was talking about it. It was one of these videos I saw on Tyler's channel with the alien head vodka, and made me think of him because in his DUI incident, I don't want to get into it. Tyler's all right, man. He's just a big hoaxer, and he's got caught doing some stuff he shouldn't have done, and he's just an idiot. Hopefully he gets smarter. That's all I have to say about Tyler. Yeah, you're better off just smoking some weed. Anyways, I'll take a shot of this whiskey for you. I'd rather drink that than the I don't know if I have a shot glass. Yeah, I'd have to go get one. I'm gonna play a video for you so we can. I'm gonna play some Mike McCulloch. Talk about this quantized inertia hypothesis stuff.
You would run away so fast that you would not hear the sound coming out of my mouth. Then, in
I'll be right back.
Say
I'm gonna grab a shot glass and do a shot with you guys.
There's a boundary to the information you can know about your world, and I'm not inside that boundary. I'm outside it now. So this is the idea of a horizon. It's an information boundary that objects cannot see past in principle. So this doesn't just work for sound, it works for light as well. This should be clicking over. There. So it works for light and for other objects as well. So here I've shown a black ball, which is accelerating to the right. And relativity tells us that information can't travel faster than the speed of light. So just like you running away from the theater wouldn't hear me, this object accelerating away from this black area on the left the object would not know about that black area. So this is a horizon. The horizon separates the black bit from the blue bit. And this is a light horizon. So similarly to the ship example, the object can see lots of waves on its right-hand side. Now, these aren't ocean waves, like in the example. These are quantum waves, and we know these exist. These exist everywhere, even in a complete vacuum. These waves exist. So these waves are pushing the object from the right-hand side, But then there are fewer of them on the left-hand side, because only certain wavelengths can exist between the object and the horizon. So the object is going to be pushed back against its acceleration. And this looks very much like inertia, which tends to cancel out all acceleration. And I've published a paper to show that this predicts inertial mass. It predicts the phenomenon of inertia, of things going forward in a straight line at constant speed. Because if they change speed, these quantum waves appear and put them back on track. But this isn't the whole story. There's another horizon at the cosmic edge. This is because there, stars are moving away from us faster than the speed of light, so we just can't see them. So there's another boundary to information. So if an object is accelerating very slowly, these quantum waves become very long, and they start being damped by the cosmic horizon now on the right-hand side of this plot. So you can see I've shown the waves were shown by the dashed lines, and now they're shown by the solid curve. So this means that inertial mass should drop off for very low accelerations in a new way. This is what this theory is predicting. And this is great, because this is exactly what we need to explain galaxy rotation. Because stars in the center of the galaxy are accelerating very rapidly, going around in circles very rapidly, but those at the edge are moving in a very slow curve. So they're accelerating slowly, so you would expect from this theory for inertial mass to drop and the centrifugal force to be less. So I've shown here the white arrow was dotted, so it's very long, but now it's shorter, so it balances exactly the gravitational one. So no longer do we need to add mass to the galaxy to lengthen the black arrow. They're now balanced anyway. So I've done the opposite to what the dark matter people are doing. I haven't increased gravity. I've just reduced the centrifugal force, pushing everything out. And I've managed to show, and I've published papers on this, that you can predict galaxies this way, without dark matter. The great thing about this theory is it's very simple, and it requires only the visible mass of the galaxy, the speed of light, and the Hubble scale, the size of the cosmos, which are all things which are known. So this theory can't be fudged. It either works or it doesn't, and it works. Okay, so the usefulness of this is that if we understand something, we can start to control it. So can we control inertia, which we've never done before? And maybe we can. And one way to do it would be to have a very highly accelerated core. So that's shown here by the black circle, which is spinning very fast. It would have to be a huge acceleration, 10 to the 20 or something like that, meters per second. But if you could do that, then the onward waves, the quantum waves that I was talking about, become very short. And they might be dampable with our technology, with electromagnetic technology. So what you could then do is put a damper above this spinning object, shown here by the blue line, and damp the quantum waves above it. That means that the object will lift up, because there will be quantum waves hitting it from below and fewer hitting from above. So the great thing about this is that previously we've had to use rockets, or we've had to push off the ground to move things. This is a new way to move things without fuel. The fuel is effectively the quantum vacuum, which is everywhere, even in deep space. So this may have been already seen by engineers. A British engineer called Roger Scheuer, and also NASA now, have shown that if you put microwaves into a metal cavity that looks like this, it's a truncated cone, the cavity moves very slightly towards its narrow end. And this, in terms of normal physics, is impossible. It's a bit like trying to speed up a car by pushing it from inside. You can't do it because of the conservation of momentum. But it seems to move anyway. The force is very small. It's about the thrust of a leaf sitting on your hand, but it seems to exist. And quantized inertia predicts this force. Quantized inertia is the name of the theory I'm proposing. Okay, so to summarize, quantized inertia, this new theory, it explains inertia for the first time. It, in a sense, unifies physics, because I'm using horizons which come from relativity, but quantum waves which obviously come from quantum physics. It gets rid of dark matter. You can predict galaxy rotation without dark matter. And it predicts a horizon drive. Now, the following schematic looks very easy. Actually demonstrating this in the lab is going to be extremely difficult because we'll need to have very high accelerations, and it's not quite known how to damp quantum waves yet, but conductive materials seem to do the trick. But if we can do it, then we should be able to launch a capsule without fuel. So it should rise up like that. Thank you very much.
Let me get back. All right, we're back. All right, so basically, you can find more about this if you look up UNRRA radiation, UNRRA radiation propulsion. And when you look up UNRRA radiation propulsion, you get this quantized inertia stuff, and it's very related to a lot of other stuff and a lot of other theories that I've been reading, a lot of the research that was done by Lockheed Martin into this technology. Of course, you read up a lot of the papers that are on inertial cancellation and inertia drives will bring you to that stuff. Again, another reason I want to put my freaking website together so I can get this all organized and put together and laid out for people. But really interesting stuff where you can take this radiation factor, and as someone mentioned in the comments about the radiation that this Nazi Bell put off. Apparently, it put off like crazy radiation, and this would be a good, here we have some actual physics, for why it's producing it, what's going on here, and how it can produce propulsion from it. And again, I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, dude. I'm just a researcher, and I'm a freaking construction worker full-time in the main, during the day. So I don't, I research all this stuff in my spare time and on my own budget. Well, if I had professional funding, I could freaking do so much more. Again, we're just come up with a wall of information and disinformation, and there's no way to cut through it and sort through it all, but just using real physics and experiments, and sticking with the stuff that has the real science. If it's too easy and doesn't have enough science behind it, it's probably wrong, and probably the wrong, down the wrong path. But whoa, so the Nazis and British got all their technology from drawings and diagrams in the ancient Indian temples in India, and then they destroyed them all. I'd never heard that before. That's an interesting thing. There's a lot of temples that still exist and haven't been destroyed, and would love to hear more about the history behind that and what they destroyed and when. Yeah, so back on the flying triangle stuff. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the flying triangle stuff. I want to go over all the Ed Fouché stuff and the newer stuff too. So let's go find first the Ed Fouché stuff. So I have here's Ed's slide from his presentation on the TR-3B. And he said a 4 minimum crew. Landing posts, this is where they're hinged on both sides, and there's an entrance to get up into this craft and this platform of above. And then apparently this is above this right above this accelerator disc, which is on the bottom of the craft right here, you can see. And it's called the Magnetic Field Disruptor, MFD, which again, why the language of this magnetic field disruptor? It's not really a magnetic field disruptor if it is flying with by UNRRA radiation propulsion, if that's the physics behind how it's propelling itself. Again, he said 60,000 RPMs and pressurized to 250,000 atmospheres. That seems like incredibly high pressure. I don't know what vessel could contain that over that large of a volume, and that plus that high of a rotation. Gravity reduces the gravity of the craft by 89%, but then they provide the rest of that 11% of lift with these vectored rocket thrusters, hydrogen, oxygen, variable rocket thrusters on the sides. So again, kind of weird. Sure, it's not a big friggin' helium balloon with because there's been lots of these helium balloons. I got a guy, John Powell, I follow, JP Aerospace, and JP Aerospace has produced a ton of these airships and these big giant balloons. In case people don't know about them, he's produced several of these really large balloon craft, inflatable balloons, which could be easily mistaken at night if they had lights on. They could easily be mistaken for a flying triangle or a TR-3B, or there's even theories that the Phoenix lights were one of these types of test craft that were developed. Again, just throwing information out there, stuff I've come across in the research. Do what you want with it. But there it is. It exists in a hangar somewhere. People are doing research on it, building these things and launching them into space and whatnot. Follow this dude, John Powell, JP Aerospace, if you want to find more about this and do more research on it. He's very open to answering questions and communicating too, which is nice. Any more cool questions? Let me see. I know 89% though, it doesn't make sense. This is the stuff that, from the original thing. This is, Ed Fouché's original stuff, and I have his original slides here. This is his whole presentation. I have all the slides from his original presentation, and then some other pictures and stuff. And man, wouldn't it be something if they freaking rolled this craft out and it was like legit the real deal, So I got some of these pictures, right? I don't know where these pictures are from. They're very blurry. I don't think this is real. Doesn't seem like it, but that just gives you some imagination and some ideas of what could be out there. This picture has been around for years, and again, a lot of people think this is the Stingray, or not the Stingray, the black manta ray, and that it's not the TR-3B. It's another one of these just triangular shaped craft. But then there's pictures like this. It's very realistic. It's just the actual cockpit of some futuristic spacecraft type plane. They got a Dell computer system. It might just be a simulator. I don't know, but there's these pictures floating around. I don't think this is legit. It looks too photoshopped and too, there's just things that are off about it. And this is definitely photoshopped and fake, but people are talking about these new skin coatings, which are, that's the interesting part, is that these the newer tech generation versions of these craft have these specialized nano coatings and these nano skin coatings to increase the effects. And I thought that that was just kind of interesting. I know, tidbits of information. But anyways, is this a legit craft? Is it real? Who knows? I wish I had answers. A 600-foot TR-3B craft is very hard to hide, which is, again, maybe that's why they're doing this massive land grab, to grab up all the land, and so they can have a place the size of Connecticut to fly this thing and study it, you know, because too many people are seeing these flying triangles flying around, and they're trying to, you know, put a damper on it. But man, I just think if they, what if they rolled this thing out next week and we're like, yeah, we got a Mach 10 flying triangle that, you know, belongs to the U.S. Air Force. Nobody talks about these flying triangles. I think it's also really interesting that TTSA, for what it's worth, TTSA never talks about flying triangles, dude. It's all about this tic tac, and everyone's talking, you know, they're focusing about the tic tac and the tic tacs and this carrot on a stick of we're gonna release this stuff and it's coming out and we got Pentagon witnesses and all this stuff, but we got no evidence, no hardcore like proof, no, you know, like always promising that they got this stuff coming out, but then they don't have it. They have these freaking Nimitz videos, which I'm totally unimpressed with, and I've already talked about all the different things that it could have been. Project Pegasus. Also, a lot of the fact that it came up from the water and was launched, and they said it came from a mothership under the water. Well, we have tons of these U.S. Navy. This torpedo missile that they have, it looks very much like it. They can launch them right out of the submarines, and then they travel short and fast right along the water, and look very similar to this Tic Tac thing. I have some videos of it, but again, not saying that's what it was. There's a lot of people. I think it was a U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy test, or U.S. Air Force test. That they were testing this out on the Nimitz group. They were testing out new technologies, and I have a theory that it could have been ECCMs related to you know, ECCM tech, which electronic countermeasures. It's basically similar to what I talked about with the Skinwalker Ranch stuff. There are ways to produce radar. Basically ways to produce radar blips that aren't there, you know, radar spoofing and jamming. So they can create a radar signature for this craft and create a visual display that where pilots will see that, and it registers on radar, so that they could basically create an encounter with a UFO, completely fabricate it, and it would seem legitimate. I think it could quite possibly be that. That's my best take on what they saw and what was going on there. Because I don't, you know, alien technology, bro. They can travel interstellar distances to get here. I always say that aliens will be invisible and you'll never see them, and they're not going to contact you because, you know, all this stuff that people are seeing, lights in the sky and UFOs. I don't think they're aliens, because aliens wouldn't come down. They wouldn't visit us. They wouldn't show themselves to us. I mean, they'd come down. They would visit us. Sorry. I could see aliens coming down and visiting us and monitoring us and watching our entire friggin' civilization die and fail to evolve, like a giant alien reality TV show. And I could see them, you know, kind of influencing us and pushing us in the direction of helping us die harder and faster, because, you know, it's already probably crowded as fuck up there with all the different races, and they don't want another intelligent species evolving, especially one like us. Coming out there and going out to the stars. So they're really just, you know, I can almost believe in that theory that, like, the aliens are trying to help our civilization's demise, because I can't see how humans could be this freaking intent on destroying themselves, is what I see right now with the world economy, the amount of billionaires that just, the people that have all the money, that are controlling all the money, that aren't concerned with, you know, the future or progress for the human race. They seem to be just part of this big club accelerating the demise of the human species and the human race overall. And that's you know, as sick and twisted as that sounds to me, maybe, you know, it would make more sense that there's aliens forces out there controlling that and helping push that in that direction. Then it, you know, then it makes sense to me that people are that fucking stupid, really, to do it to themselves. It's kind of I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with again, I'm just drinking and talking and having a good time here with you people. So it's Saturday night, and just going over what I think. But I think it's definitely concerning that the TTSA doesn't talk about these flying triangles. Suddenly, that talk about all the talk about flying triangles kind of went hush since TTSA kind of came on the scene and really took things over with this UFO mafia that's controlled all the information and the whole, basically what people look at and the whole scene in ufology for the past several decades, 30, 40 years, you know, since Bob Lazar came out, really 30 years or more. This UFO mafia has been controlling the whole scene and really paying close attention to what people look at and what they don't look at, what they talk about, what they don't talk about. But, you know, here I've been pushing the envelope and trying to, you know, push past that and look around the disinformation and try to find other perspectives. And, you know, I'm in the habit of calling almost everything and everything out there and everyone out there disinformation, because it's just, it's easier not to get fooled. And when you get fooled enough and you start getting more skeptical and start to get better. And not to say that I've ever thrown all the whole baby out with the bathwater, because some people accuse me of that, like, oh, well, you say all this stuff's false, but you're throwing the whole baby out with the bathwater. No, I'm not. There's lots of real material here that needs to be looked at, and real studies and real stuff that needs to be researched here. But the stuff that gets popular and the stuff that gets talked about and the stuff that gets promoted most in the mainstream isn't that stuff. It's the most bullshit, craziest nonsense that you ever heard, and that's done on purpose. It's designed that way on purpose, and that stuff's pushed to the forefront, and it's put out there and peddled the most and the hardest, because they know that people are going to get into this. They're going to research it superficially at a very, you know, minimal level, elementary level, and when they debunk it and find that it's all bullshit, then they're going to throw it all out, and they're not going to look into anything else deeper, and they're going to say, you know, it's hard enough for me to, you know, there's people that follow Bob Lazar for years, and then when they realize he's a fraud, then they throw everything out, you know, and maybe that's part of the plan, but and to get people to not look into everything else that's out there, and especially not look into the real stuff. But it seems to be working, because on most people, because I don't see anybody else out there really getting into stuff like this and talking about this stuff. It seems like an echo chamber of the same old, you know, Bob Lazar, TTSA, Disclosure Project, Stephen Greer, and George Knapp, and, you know, the same stuff. Roswell over and over again, but not they don't talk about the memory foil or the Roswell technologies, and you know. I want to get more into that, because apparently Vannevar Bush of MIT, apparently Vannevar Bush of MIT was placed as the head of the whole project for the MJ-12 Science Technology Reverse Engineering Division. Like, he was the first guy given the Roswell debris and given access to it, and that he was the one, basically the head guy for the MJ-12 project, and the head guy reverse engineering all the stuff and looking at it and trying to figure it out. And I don't see I'm trying to look for, you know, the integrated circuit chips and stuff. Like, yeah, he was related to some of this stuff and these switching circuits and stuff, but I don't see the real hard connection between him and like any kind of like real anti-gravity technology. Again, all the stuff that I research, it traces back to very human scientists and very human sources, and I think it's a sort of a it's an insult to the researchers and the real scientists who do this research to say that it just came from aliens, or that it was just all from aliens, and that aliens, this is all alien technology, or to say that it's Tesla, it was all Tesla technology, or, you know, just to attribute it to one source, because it's a lot of people working on a lot of different ideas and putting a lot of stuff together that really is culminating in this whole process. And if my lab is ever successful at creating anti-gravity and producing it, it will be because of all these the work of all these other human scientists and real research that they've done in the directions that they've pushed us in. Because we never have I ever gotten a direction, or, you know, someone got a channeling or a download from aliens that told them how to build this machine, and then suddenly, you know, it's all right and all the pieces fit into place and all the physics is correct and it works. It's not going to be like that, bro. It's going to be real researchers doing discovery. It's not going to be like the government comes out and says, look, we've been covering this up for years. Here it is. We're disclosing it, and you know, we're releasing it to the public, and here it is. Here's a box of files on how to produce anti-gravity and all the our secrets. Why don't you just go give it to China and the Russians while you're at it too, so they can have a look. I mean, come on, realistically, people, disclosure is such a joke, dude. It's such a not happening thing. It's such a non-reality. I feel like 2020 is hopefully going to be this year of illumination in this process, where people are going to open their eyes and have this vision to say, wow, it's not going to get handed to us on this silver platter, that we have to work for this. We have to put in the time and the effort and the research and the study to really put this pieces together and figure this out. It's not going to come from, you know, a David Wilcock or a Corey Good, you know, some secret space whistleblower. Yeah, I built these machines and here it is. I'm going to give it to you. It's not. I think it's so stupid, dude. Yeah, like David Adair with he got a download. I got a download from, you know, kiss my ass, dude. Exactly, kiss my freaking behind with that stuff, dude. You look at the stuff that Vannevar Bush developed, and the real research and the people that did this stuff, integrated circuits, like they were working on this stuff. Humans were building this, dude. It didn't come from aliens, dude. If it came from aliens, it would have been automatically just the most advanced ever, and it would have just done a massive leap that no one could put the pieces back together and see where it came from. But the more you do the research and the more you put the pieces together, you find that there's no humans in a lab somewhere tinkering with alien artifacts, you know, figuring out these magical secrets and then releasing them. It's just, there's no evidence trail for that. And I would love to find one, because it would be the best freaking thing I've ever come across in my research. It's what I've been looking for all these years and have failed to find, you know. Anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna learn Sanskrit at this point, dude. I don't know what this guy's on about. But yeah, going back, I don't think you can go backwards in time too, right? And that's the whole idea, is that someone in the ancient world figured this out and learned it, and that we can figure this out. Yes. That's cool if someone else out there wants to pursue that, learn Sanskrit and go really research through all this and find it and come up with this. Go find the ancient formula and put it together for me. But still, it's got to have a lab, and it's got to have researchers that put, you know, the pieces together and actually get physics and results in a laboratory. And that's why I thought it was cool that Podkletnov's got this experiment here, man. He's actually got the disc, and they spin it.
Колебания экрана. Величина, сколько в данном случае невелика, напряжение питания 20 вольт. Увеличил напряжение питания до 30 вольт. Величина сколько возрастает до 45-60 градусов. высокое напряжение питания снова.
I want to see someone make one and have it fly right up the fucking roof and take off, man. Thank you, Eugene. Thanks for the update, even though it was 2018. You don't answer my emails. I send you a couple. That would be really cool if you did reach out to us. And, of course, the one that got your, the only interview you ever did released, you know. So you can thank people for this interview being online because of me. I'm the one that traced it down to the guy who did it and got it put online. He's an idiot that was just going to sit on all this material and keep it in his basement for I don't know how long. He was waiting for a big screen, you know, a mainstream TV show to help get the truth out, and didn't realize the power of YouTube and that we didn't need a mainstream TV show. He could have just released all this stuff himself and been doing it himself. As long as he had a good product, people would come and it wouldn't matter about the mainstream networks or the stranglehold over information that they have. We're winning this war. Getting this information out, man. That's cool, man. But yeah, cool interview. I might go back and rewatch that one again at some point. But put Kletinov, man, and Giovanni Modenese. Again, he wrote the book on superconductors and anti-gravity, gravity superconductor interactions theory and experiment. This is a key book for anyone who's into this research. Should definitely check out Giovanni Modenese and his research and work with these. There he is, right there. Interesting, all that stuff that's coming out and all the different theories being waved around and people that have come in to say they know this and they know that and they want to talk about this and that. But again, it's really going to come down to the experiments. When the experiments come out and people doing research and building this stuff. Hey, maybe spinning Mercury is the way to do it. If someone can figure that out and do it, that'll be amazing. Again, it's all in good time. I plan on doing these experiments, but just all in good time. They're coming. Just gotta keep building the team, keep bringing people together, keep bringing ideas together to the forefront until we can get this figured out. I can't wait. In any case, I am freaking tired. It's now 11:24. I've been doing this podcast for almost 2 hours now. Good. Got a good amount of information out there. Got a lot of stuff covered and talked about, you know. I'm sure there's other stuff that I missed and didn't cover, but I at least want to go over all this stuff, dude. Interesting shit, dude. Alright, so yeah, Project Reese. The one thing I forgot to mention with the Nazi Bell stuff and the Nazi Bell project was this Project Reese. And this is if people want to look up where it actually took place, the tunnels and the systems. Apparently they dynamited all the tunnels shut in this whole complex after the war. It might be worth it to like get an archaeological expedition to go there and dig up these tunnels and kind of, that'll be a lot of freaking work to go and re-excavate and sort of document what they did down there and what they built and what they were working on. But interesting, all these caverns and these underground facilities that they were building or producing during the war, and these tunnel systems and stuff. got old artifacts from World War II still down there. These infantry helmets and stuff. Cool stuff, man. But in any case, they were building apparently this Wunderwaffe technology out there, and it was based on these physicists of the time. A lot of these German scientists who I've been looking for and trying to find their papers on or anything related to their research and stuff, and I can't. That's been another area of research that I've looked down and has not been fruitful in finding any sort of you know, German physics insights that would have led to them, you know, believing this. Even the Unruh effect, it was first described in '73. You know, it's not like this existed since the dawn of quantum mechanics. This is a relatively new concept, as far as we know. Who knows? Maybe these German quantum information theorists at the turn of, you know, the beginning and birth of quantum mechanics, maybe some of them figured out this or had these ideas. And Heisenberg's been one candidate that a lot of people have talked about and gone over. Werner Heisenberg. He's been one of those people that a lot of people have referred to as one of the theorists that, you know, helped create the ideas behind the Nazi Bell experiment. One of the founders of quantum mechanics. Although if it didn't do the Nazi Bell, he certainly influenced their atomic bomb and atomic physics research. Which is, again, I'm getting too tired to go into this and dig into it and get into all the physics theory and stuff, but it's possible that, you know, some of these German scientists conceived of some of these early ideas earlier on of how to produce anti-gravity, and that maybe they did some experiments and could possibly even succeeded. Who knows? I don't know what to believe with regards to that, because it's just not strong enough evidence for it. And again, if they could create it back in the 40s and 50s, I mean, why hasn't anyone done it? And why can't we do it in our labs today? Why are we missing these pieces of the puzzle of being able to do it ourselves? And just the question of, you know, why don't we have flying cars? Why hasn't someone tried to capitalize off this and make money off it? You know, so many questions. So many questions, things that just don't add up, and that's why we do this research, because we want to answer questions and we want things that add up, and we like physics and we like, you know, great explanations. This was good. Anyone who watched this quantized inertia stuff with Mike McCulloch, he's one of my, I definitely want to get him on the show coming up soon, and I want to get some of these other guys on to talk about the physics, really. And it sucks that I'm sitting here still 2 hours, been talking to myself for 2 hours, man. I don't know how I do it and keep it going. Certainly gets crazy sometimes, but anyways, I'm starting to slow down, and that's been my whole thing, is the material science has been missing, dude. We need more infrastructure to build the materials, and that's why I always said, like, all of our electronics and all of our material stuff for all this high-end electronics and topological insulators and all that stuff comes from China, man. So if we want to look up Chinese patents on optical electronics, like China #1 in the world for graphene tech and applications for patents for graphene tech and all these things. And look, all of our electronics, they're all built in China. Like, I was talking to that U.S. Navy guy about all this stuff that I mentioned that I talked about I do a lot of work, and I do a lot of work for contracting, and I've gotten 3 jobs in the past year for high-ranking U.S. Navy officers. Well, actually, two U.S. Navy officers and 1 U.S. Air Force officer, really high-ranking guys, and I got an inside chance to just kind of pick their brains and ask them questions from a friendly, informed, guy, just someone point of view. I didn't really tell them who I was, that I have this alien scientist channel. I do all this crazy research, but I don't want to make them too off say anything too off-putting. I want to kind of get information out of them, but one of these guys said that they did a whole study and trying to make sure none of their electronics came from China, and they were like, that's impossible. All these electronics came from China, and China is just so #1, and they're so advanced with regards to all this technology that we're not going to be able to produce it without Chinese production facilities. The Chinese electronics and the semiconductors and their production. We don't have the infrastructure here in the United States to produce these materials. China does. China's decades ahead of us in their ability to produce this stuff. So we're gonna see a lot of interesting things in the next 10 to 20 years. I feel, with regards to this technology coming out, and how it's going to be able to, how U.S. is going to keep its dominance over the market in the world and all this stuff, man. I'm actually, yeah. You almost want to move to China and friggin' start learning Chinese now, because it's freaking coming. It's coming. We need to do so much more to catch up with them and build our infrastructure here in the United States to produce these types of technologies. But again, from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. It's just easier and cheaper to keep buying it from China than it is to produce all that, reproduce and recreate all of that stuff here ourselves. Yeah, man, Operation Paperclip, that Vril Society stuff, it's interesting stuff, man, that these guys, these scientists might have known about this stuff and brought it over and kept it secret. And that's the whole theory anyway, that they knew about it, they had it, they brought it over and they kept it secret, and they've been working on it and keeping it a secret for years and years. But again, if it was that easy, dude, it'd be hard to keep it a secret. It'd be really fucking hard if it was that easy, and I don't think it's that easy. Although maybe, we'll see. Only time will tell, until someone comes out with it and produces it out of their basement and shows a video, and it's like, look, we figured it out, and here it is. Dude, China is definitely someone to look at in this picture. I don't think that, I think Russia's got some advantages. Russia's doing a lot of stuff, dude, but China's really got the upper hand here, and they're really a big player in this world scene for this technology, and someone that needs to be someone that needs to be looked at. I feel like I should do a shot of this alien vodka, although I don't want to open it. It's so much nicer just not even to keep it not ever opened, Plus, I just am I'm not really a big vodka drinker. I like whiskey. Scotch. Scotch. I'll do another shot for you guys, since I'm being asked to do so in the comments, and I'm getting ready to go to frickin' bed soon because I'm tired. It's Saturday night. I ain't no professor, dude. I'm the student that asks uncomfortable questions in class, or questions that make the professor go on an hour-long tangent and not talk about the things that he was meant to teach in the class. So here's to you guys. Here's to all of the fans that keep it going. Here's to the people that donated $3.50 through super chats and help me keep this, that $3.50 helping me keep this whole thing going. That's awesome. Without, I don't know how I could do it without you guys, you know. I don't know. You know, people wonder why, you know, I don't just make YouTube videos all day and you know, maybe it's because I can make $300 a day going to work, or I could make $3.50. It's $1.75 an hour. $1.75 an hour, dude. That's some good wages, dude. I can make $60 an hour going to work at my job, or I can make $1.75 an hour on YouTube. Let's do the math here, man. So, anyways, I laugh at all the people that say I'm a shill, and I work for the government and I'm getting paid to do this, because that's just the biggest laugh to me of all. If I'm a shill, we're gonna see how much of a shill I am, because I'm hoping to go on Mick West's podcast. I contacted him and expressed my interest in going on his podcast. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go on. He's well known for debunking chemtrail theories and explaining UFO sightings. Great. I'm going to talk to him about chemtrails. I'm going to talk to him about UFOs. We're going to have a lot of common ground, but we're going to have a lot of different ground too. It's going to be great. I can't wait. It's going to be interesting. I like skeptics. I like talking to skeptics. I like, that's kind of what I live for, because I'm a skeptic myself, and I'm a scientist, and I love guys that try to use science to debunk stuff and figure stuff out. And I think this is going to be real interesting for people who want to watch. So definitely going to get him on. Dude, I want to get Dan Aykroyd on. Man, imagine if I had Dan Aykroyd on. I'll try his Crystal Skull vodka if he comes on my show. But he went on Rogan. He's not interested in coming on my show, I don't think. You know, he's more into like the mainstream big crowd. You know, I feel like he's too popular and mainstream to want to have anything to do with me. I'm definitely an outsider and a bit of a force. Anyways, thank you guys all for watching me, and yeah, I don't think that being a shill pays well. I don't think that those guys make a lot of money. I don't think, you know, it'd be nice if I could do this full time and not have to work, but you know, it's never gonna happen, dude. Like, I had the whole opportunity to like go and fund this stuff and put this video together. I'd have to pay like money and get it all done, and I just don't have any faith, because it's hard to have faith and put investment into like something that you've done for 15 years and it's never made you anything. Like, it's not made you nothing. Like maybe $2,000, a couple $1,000 total if I added all the work I've put in and what it's made me back. It's cost me so much. I've sacrificed so much to know what I know and to get the information that I have and to put it all together and bring it out to people and to be where I am. Cost me everything. It's cost me everything. And only when they roll out the TR3B is it ever going to pay off, because then I'm going to be on friggin' every History Channel documentary special, and everyone that wants to talk about this is going to be coming to me and being like, "Wow, you know, you talked about you know Ed Fouché, and you've been talking about this and researching it, you know." Well, then and only then is it ever going to pay off or ever going to get anywhere. And I doubt it. You know, I'm not counting on it. I'm not praying on it, and I'm not counting on it. I'm just saying, you know, this is what I do, and we're going to keep doing it and keep talking about this stuff and the research that's been done into it. And try to use real physics try to use real science to navigate the landscape, because it's so hard to know where the heck we are and where we're going. And without that, I think it's definitely a good thing that I went to college and got a degree in physics, because it's taught me a lot about skepticism and just knowledge of how to do things right. And the fact that, you know, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. And the things I've learned. But anyways, we continue the quest, and I thank all of you for being a part of it, and to be here to push me along, to, you know, give me motivation, you know, to drop amazing super chats where I make $3.50, and it's able to, like, really, you know, motivate me to want to do more. Sorry, I'm being a little cynical and facetious here, but in any case, again, I'm going to keep sharing my opinions and my ideas on these things and information that comes across my desk. Now, I may not be the most informed and knowledgeable person about there on all these subjects, but at least I'm one of the few people that is talking about them, because not a lot of people are talking about this stuff. Far too few people are talking about it, and including the people that should be talking to me and teaching us more about it. They're not even talking. So, yeah, Solar Warden, dude. Yeah, that's a good thing. Where's that Solar Warden? I was just reading a whole bunch of stuff on Solar Warden earlier, man. Anyways, there was something else that I saw, and I'm gonna have to get into this later. I'm too tired, and it's getting too late, and I need to friggin' go to bed. And thanks, guys. Have a good night. And again, any new information that people have or come across, man, send it my way, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. We're gonna go in and dig into everything. I'm on Twitter. Find me on Twitter if you're not already following me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter already, so yeah, there's my channel on Twitter. So get on there and follow me at alien_scientist, and keep updated with my website. And if you're interested in funding my whole web thing and getting my website redone and funding my week off so I can take a week off from work to redo it, hit me up. That'd be awesome. Otherwise, I don't care. And if people don't care and don't put, you know, help me out and put funding and other stuff into this, then it's never going to happen. And I'm just going to keep doing, you know, what little I can do with what little I have. And, you know, if someone else out there cares and wants to push it further and help me out, help us out, then, you know, they're going to come out and help us out. But other than that, I'm just going to keep doing it at my pace and at the level I'm doing it at. So until some millionaire comes along and says, you know what, I made friggin' 5 million on Bitcoin and I want to see this shit happen, and I'm going to help you out and hook you up with a little something and get you going. And if you do something well with this and get you started, then we'll go further from there. And I would love the opportunity. Someone would be like, here's 50 grand. You don't have to work for a year. You can just work on doing this for a year. And if you do well and you produce and you do good, then I'll give you another 50 grand next year. I'd be like, hell yes. It would be on. And it would be the best 50 grand ever spent in the history of the planet. Except for maybe some of the useless studies that have been, millions of dollars have been spent by the, you know, look at all the taxpayer funded studies where millions of dollars have been wasted on stupider shit than looking for anti-gravity and free energy. Or evidence of friggin' the secret societies and stuff. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that. And, time to go to bed. No, time for me to sleep is what it is. I'm freaking tired, and yeah, that Victor Schauberger water vortex implosion stuff, man. Again, where's the beef? Where's the meat? Where's the potatoes, dude? I love it. Again, thanks you all for watching. I'm Jeremy Riss, the alien scientist. Not to be confused with Jeremy Corbell, the alien anti-scientist, and filmmaker extraordinaire. Alien Jeremy Riss, the only real Jeremy in ufology, in this field, worth listening to, until another Jeremy comes along. Oh, Jeremiah, don't forget Jeremiah. Jeremiah Pop, that's my man. Yo, Jeremiah, I'll catch you on the next show. I don't know what happened with technical difficulties in Skype and you getting on this one, but it's been we could do some damage once we get you. We got to get Jeremiah to come down to our lab in New Jersey, and I'm trying to fund a trip, trying to fund a plane ticket or a bus trip or something to get him to come down. Man, that would be awesome. But anyways, once I get some good technicians and some good experimentalists all together, our lab's going to be on and popping, and we got some cool videos coming up for you there with that regard, and some interesting insights into the technologies and things we're learning through those experiments. So, oh yeah, I know Jeremiah's a beast, dude. People already know who we seen him on, and we got some more stuff coming for you, man. It's on, and we're gonna keep bringing you the best of the best, and that's my goal, is to try to bring you this real technology. I want free energy and anti-gravity, and I want it for real. I don't want no bullshit. It's gonna work, and when we find it, it's gonna be produced and it's gonna be plastered, and there's no stopping it and no shutting it down, and that's where it needs to be. And we're going to hopefully get this team together, get the website together, and then we'll attract the right group of people to get this out. And that'll be awesome. But anyways, good night. Thanks for watching. And check all the links in the description. Keep doing some more research, and bring more stuff to my attention for next week. Next Saturday night, hopefully. Keep doing this on a regular basis every weekend. With updates. That'll be awesome. Alright guys. Peace.